everyone, welcome back for another deep dive, and today we're going to be looking at something a little different.
Yeah, it's
Not spaceships, not AI,
right.
but I think just as fascinating in a different way.
Oh, absolutely.
We're going to be looking at the family of Elon Musk,
Okay.
and the main source we're going to be diving into is this recent article by dailymail.com
Yeah.
that dropped a bit of a bombshell.
Yes, this article alleges that Elon Musk fathered his 13th child with conservative influencer Ashley St. Clair.
Wow. Okay, so 13 kids now.
Allegedly 13.
Allegedly 13. Right. And it's not just the number of kids, it's just like the different mothers and the unusual names.
Right.
It's a lot to keep track of.
It is a lot to keep track of.
And this dailymail.com piece really pulls back the curtain
Yeah.
on this aspect of his life. I mean, so much has been written about his companies.
Right.
But this is something else. And even though the source is a little bit on the tabloid side,
Yeah.
I think there's a lot to unpack here.
Absolutely. I think, this is a chance to sort of look at Musk beyond just the headlines about, his businesses and his different ventures and ask, what motivates this guy? What does he envision for the future?
Right.
And how does his family fit into that?
Yeah, what can this really tell us about Elon Musk, the person, not just the, larger-than-life figure?
Right, exactly.
Okay, so let's start with this claim from Ashley St. Clair.
Right. So
this is the one that kind of set the internet on fire.
yeah, she announced the birth of a baby boy on X, formerly Twitter, just mentioning he's 5 months old and asked for privacy.
Okay.
One thing that I found interesting is that the article mentions that she's living in this luxury Manhattan apartment and driving a Tesla Cybertruck.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so that's a little eyebrow-raising. I mean, does this imply something more than just, a chance encounter?
Exactly. It makes you wonder about the nature of their connection and whether there's more to the story than meets the eye.
Right. And then there's Musk's response, or I guess lack of response. He didn't directly address the claim, but he did respond to one fan's comment about the alleged child with just a laughing emoji.
The classic Elon.
Right. So very cryptic, adding fuel to the fire with his ambiguity.
Exactly.
But okay, so this is just the latest development in a long line of them because, as we know, he has been pretty vocal about wanting a large family.
Yeah, very vocal about it.
Even saying that he believes civilization will just, crumble.
Right.
If people don't have more children.
Yeah, he sees declining birth rates as a serious threat to the future of humanity.
Right, and his actions seem to match his words because before this latest news, he already had 12 acknowledged children.
That's right.
With 3 different women.
That's correct.
So, I mean, this is already a pretty big family, and now we're adding a potential 13th.
Right.
So, okay, let's break this down a little bit.
Okay, let's do it.
So first we have Justine Wilson, his first wife.
Okay.
They was married in 2000, and they had 6 children together.
Yeah, 6 children together.
And sadly, their first child, Nevada, passed away from SIDS at just 10 weeks old.
That's right, a heartbreaking loss.
Yeah, very sad. And then after that, they had twins, Griffin and Vivian, through IVF.
Right, and Vivian, who was assigned male at birth, later transitioned and is now estranged from Musk.
Okay, and that's particularly noteworthy, given, all of the controversial things Musk has said about gender ideology and all that.
Exactly. He famously tweeted about losing his son to the woke mind virus.
Right.
Which drew a lot of criticism.
Yeah, it definitely adds another layer of, complexity to their relationship.
For sure.
Right, so then beyond the twins, Musk and Wilson also had triplets through IVF, Kai Saxon and Damien.
Okay.
But ultimately, their marriage ended in a divorce in 2008.
Right, and in a later essay, Justine Wilson described feeling more like an employee than an equal partner in a relationship.
Okay, so it seems like, his intense dedication to his work might have taken a toll on his personal life, at least during that time.
It's an interesting thought, and it makes you wonder about, how he balances that ambition with his personal relationships.
Yeah, does he see a connection there, or are those completely separate in his mind?
Right.
So, okay, so that was the end of his first marriage.
Right.
But the pursuit of a large family.
Yeah.
That did not end there.
Not at all.
So that brings us to Grimes.
Of course.
The musician Grimes.
Yes.
And his very public on-again, off-again relationship with her.
Yes, very high-profile relationship.
High profile, yes. And they have 2 children together.
Yes, their son was born in 2020, Oxy.
Right. That name, I think, broke the internet for a little bit.
Oh, it went completely viral.
Yeah, so many memes.
Oh, yeah.
And then in 2021, they had a daughter, Exa Dark Sidereal Musk, via surrogate.
That's right.
So, more unusual names,
Yes, they've certainly made some interesting
to
choices.
say the least, and their whole relationship has just been fascinating to watch from the outside.
Unconventional, to say the least.
Yeah, she described him as both her boyfriend and the love of my life at different points.
Yeah.
They've broken up, they've gotten back together. It's been, very dramatic.
It's been a roller coaster for sure.
Yeah, and then there's the whole custody battle as well.
Yes, Grimes has been very open on the social media, the challenges of co-parenting with Elon Musk.
Okay.
I mentioned that at one point she went 5 months without seeing one of her children,
Oh, wow.
and then she saw a photo of her son X with Musk at the Oval Office on Twitter,
Okay.
and she was clearly not happy about it.
Yeah, that's rough.
Yeah, it seems like maintaining a stable co-parenting relationship has been a struggle for them.
Yeah, I can imagine that would be very, very difficult.
Yeah.
Um, but then there's another piece of this puzzle.
Okay, what's that?
Siobhan Zilis?
Siobhan Zilis, yeah.
So she's a top executive at Neuralink.
One of Musk's companies, yes.
Right, one of his companies, and she secretly gave birth to twins, Strider and Azure, with Musk back in 2021.
Right.
So this is a whole other, branch of this family tree.
Exactly. And then to make things even more interesting,
Oh, there's more?
they welcomed a third child together in 2024.
Okay, so this is getting pretty wild.
Yes, it's a very complicated picture.
Yeah, so we've got Justine Wilson, we've got Grimes, we've got Siobhan Zilis.
Right.
And all connected to Musk through his children.
And this ties back into, his statement about doing his best to help the underpopulation crisis.
Right. It does seem like there's a very, very strong philosophical belief
Yes.
driving all of this.
It's a very unique and multifaceted family dynamic.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It is a lot, and I think it's this complexity that makes it so fascinating to really explore.
Right. It's not just the number of kids, it's really what's behind it all.
Exactly. We need to move beyond the headlines and think about the deeper implications of this ever-expanding family.
Yeah, what does this really tell us about, the man behind these companies and innovations?
Right. What can we learn about Elon Musk from this?
Okay, so let's dive into that right after this quick break. So we've got this, this whole family tree in front of us, and
It's a lot.
it's definitely a lot.
Yeah.
But beyond just the number of kids, what I find really interesting is how it all connects to his vision, for the future.
Right. I think that's key here. Remember, this is a man who talks about colonizing Mars and, accelerating technological progress and basically, ensuring the survival of humanity
Yeah.
in the long term. And his desire to have this large family seems to really fit into that.
Yeah, it's almost like he's building a legacy on multiple fronts. Like he's got his companies pushing the boundaries of technology, and then his family is also expanding at a rate that most people can't even comprehend.
Exactly. And it goes beyond just having children. He's actually talked about, wanting to pass on certain traits,
Okay.
specifically intelligence and a strong work ethic.
Oh, interesting.
And, both Grimes and Siobhan Zilis, they come from very different backgrounds.
Right.
But they're both incredibly intelligent and ambitious in their own right.
That's a good point. Yeah, it seems like he's drawn to people who share, at least to some extent, that same drive and intellectual curiosity
Yeah,
that he's known for.
definitely.
But it also makes me wonder, what role will his children play in his companies or his vision for the future as they get older?
That's the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Will they inherit the businesses? Will they be inspired by him and, follow in his footsteps?
Right.
Or will they rebel against, this huge legacy?
Yeah, maybe go in a completely different direction.
Right, and challenge his ideals?
I mean, can you imagine the board meetings in like 20 years?
Oh, my goodness.
It'll be like a reality show.
Right, with the future of SpaceX or Tesla hanging in the balance?
Yeah, exactly. It could get pretty intense.
Yeah, for sure. And then you have to think about the broader societal implications of all of this.
Okay.
I mean, we can't ignore the fact that, his wealth and influence
Right.
give him opportunities and choices that most people simply don't have.
Yeah, like he bought that huge property in Texas specifically for his kids and their families to live together. I mean, that's just not something.
Not something most people can do.
Yeah, most people can't even fathom that.
Right, and this raises these questions about, resource allocation and privilege.
Right.
In a world that's, facing concerns about overpopulation and sustainability, the choices that someone like Elon Musk makes with his resources and his influence are going to have a ripple effect.
Yeah, it's a good reminder that even though we're kind of, drawn to the drama and the unconventional aspects of his family life,
Right.
there are these deeper ethical dimensions to think about as well.
Absolutely. But let's go back to Ashley St. Clair's claim for a second.
Okay.
Do you think there's any truth to it?
Honestly, I don't know. It's so hard to say. We don't have any confirmation from either of them beyond what's in the article.
Right.
But Even if it turns out to be false, the fact that she made this claim publicly and the way he reacted online
Yeah.
really speaks to just how much attention people are paying to
Right.
his personal life.
Absolutely. And it really blurs the lines between, his carefully crafted public image.
Yeah, the innovator, the disruptor.
Right, exactly. And then his private life.
It's almost like his approach to family is just another example of this risk-taking, rule-breaking
Right.
kind of attitude that we see in his businesses as well.
Like he's conducting this big social experiment in real time,
Yeah.
but with his own family.
Yeah, it's a pretty fascinating thought.
It is, and there's some truth to that. He's always, pushing boundaries, challenging norms,
Right.
creating his own set of rules.
And the whole world is just watching, analyzing every tweet, every new child,
Right.
every little detail.
And here we are devoting a whole deep dive to it.
I know, right? It's clearly capturing people's attention.
It is, and I think there's some really valuable insights to be gained from exploring this.
Yeah, beyond just the gossip and the spectacle.
Right.
There are real questions to ask, like what will the lasting impact of his choices be?
Like,
Both in business and in his personal life, on the world.
will his kids inherit his ambition, his vision, his, sometimes controversial views?
Right. Or will they go their own way,
Exactly.
create their own separate legacies?
Will they be a force for good? Will they be a force, who knows?
It's like we're watching this nature versus nurture experiment play out on a global scale.
It really is, and I think that's one of the most fascinating things about this whole story.
Yeah.
It reminds us that even most brilliant, influential figures are still human at the end of the day.
Right. They have families, they make choices, they experience, triumphs and failures.
Exactly.
And those choices, especially for someone like Musk, have the potential to really affect everyone.
Yeah, they ripple outwards and shape the world around them.
Okay, so much to think about here.
I know.
I think we need to take a minute, let it all sink in,
Yeah.
and then we'll come back with some final thoughts. Wow, okay, I think I'm still processing everything we just talked about with Elon Musk and his family.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot to take in.
It is, it's a lot. We started with that claim from Ashley St. Clair,
Right.
and we talked about his relationships with Justine Wilson and Grimes and Siobhan Zillis.
Yeah, it's a very complex picture.
Very complex, and I think it really, it makes you think about what really shapes a person.
Yeah, is it their upbringing? Is it their genes? Or is it the choices they make?
Exactly. And with Elon Musk, we see, all these different factors at play. I mean, he's got these strong beliefs about the future, about technology, about humanity.
Right.
And those beliefs really seem to influence everything he does.
They do, from his companies to his family.
To his family, yeah. It's not just about, how many kids he has.
Right, although that's certainly a big part of it.
It is a big part of it.
But it's also about, who he chooses to be with and the values that he wants to pass on.
Right. It's almost like he's building a dynasty.
Yeah.
Not just in the business world, but in his personal life, too.
Yeah, it's like a real-life legacy.
I wonder what those family dinners are like over at that compound in Texas.
Oh, I can only imagine.
So many different personalities, so many different perspectives.
Right, and I think that brings up a good point. As we're looking at all of this,
Yeah.
it's important to remember, the privilege and the power dynamics that are involved here.
Absolutely. I mean, Elon Musk has opportunities that most of us can only dream of.
Right.
He can buy a huge property for his family. He can have children through surrogacy.
Yeah, he even jokes about populating Mars.
I mean, it's just a completely different world.
Right, and it raises questions about, resources and ethics and the impact that one person can have on the world.
Yeah, it's not just about his companies. It's about his personal choices, too.
Exactly.
But, at the end of the day, I think this story about Elon Musk and his family is a human story.
It is. It's about ambition. It's about legacy. It's about how our personal lives and our impact on the world intersect.
Yeah, and even though we've, talked a lot about it in this deep dive,
Right.
this story is far from over.
It's just the beginning, I think.
Yeah, it's going to keep unfolding, and I think there will be more surprises and more challenges along the way.
Absolutely.
Well, I think that about wraps up our deep dive into Elon Musk's family.
Yeah,
I hope you all found it as fascinating as we did.
I did.
It's definitely a lot to think about, and remember, the world is full of these amazing stories just waiting to be explored.
That's what we're here for.
That's what we're here for. So join us next time for another deep dive.
See you then.
Until then, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep learning. 1910